A week before the wedding, my fiancée spent a fortune to buy the rights to a novel. All because it was written by her ex-boyfriend, a tribute to their first love. When the media asked me about it, I just smiled faintly. To go full circle and reunite with your first love, that's a rare fate. I wish them happiness. That evening when the interview aired, my fiancée, who had been emotionally distant for half a year, took the unprecedented step of contacting me. She told me to stop talking nonsense. She even threatened to cancel the wedding unless I clarified things with the media. But what she didn't know was, I didn't want to marry her anymore either. When Chloe spent a fortune to buy Alex's novel rights and personally invested heavily to hire the best PR team in the industry to promote him, I read the book myself. The years like poetry, it wasn't anything special. That was my only comment after finishing it. Just an ordinary story about teenage first love in a school setting. There are countless novels like it. Many are better written, but because Alex wrote about his past with Chloe, she didn't mind slapping me in the face to give him all this publicity. And at that time, it was less than a week left before our wedding. I called her, but her assistant picked up. It seemed my calls had been redirected. Brother Lou, President Lou, is in a meeting right now. Try calling back in 2 hours. The assistant said, her tone cold. After all, President Lou is busy. Her schedule is full every day. It felt like she was mocking me, as if Aja, washed-up actor, had nothing better to do.
Ow.
Over the past 2 years, this assistant who used to follow Chloe around had clearly picked up on the growing distance between us. She no longer showed me the same respect as before. I smiled. All right. After I hung up, my manager Sandra looked worried. The media has blocked all the exits. Seems you have to give an interview, Daniel. What did President Lou say? Hadn't even reached her? What could I say? I kept a calm expression and stood up. Let's go. Say what needs to be said. Sandra was stunned, immediately understanding my intent. What? But isn't that not quite right? Why wouldn't I take advantage of this opportunity for some free exposure as a washed-up actor? I had called Chloe to ask how I should handle the media's questions. But since she sent her assistant to deal with me, there was no need to save face for either of them. I pushed open the door and stepped out. A crowd of reporters swarmed toward me. Microphones were thrust in my face. The eager, gossip-hungry expression surrounded me. They asked Mr. He. President Lou has recently been promoting the up-and-coming writer Alex, and witnesses saw them boarding a flight to Greece this morning. What are your thoughts? Mr. He, your wedding with President Liu is scheduled for next week. Will her vacation with another man on the eve of the wedding affect the ceremony? Ah, so Chloe wasn't in a meeting, as her assistant claimed she was off vacationing with Alex abroad, Mr. He. Some internet users claim the recently popular novel, The Years Like, poetry is actually about the relationship between the author and President Liu. Is that true, Mr. He? Countless flashes went off in front of me, capturing every change in my expression. I smiled professionally and spoke clearly, ensuring everyone could hear. Yes, everything you're speculating is true. And my thoughts? I believe that too. Go full circle and reunite with your first love. That's a rare fate. I wish them happiness. As expected, that interview immediately made headlines in the entertainment section. The names Chloe, Alex, and mine were trending in real time. Social media exploded with speculation, digging up every little detail about the three of us. Alex's fans attacked me, calling me a washed-up actor, accusing me of riding his coattails, of smearing their beloved author. But my fans fought back, calling Alex a homewrecker and Chloe a cheater. Spectators mostly enjoyed the drama. Some laughed at me for being a cuckold, while others called me a gold digger feeding off Chloe's wealth, saying I deserved it. But overall, the majority of comments supported me. Even though they mocked me, no one defended Alex's behavior stealing someone else's fiancée. After all, I've been in the industry for as long as Chloe and I have been together. Alex's fan base was no match for the public. The more they spoke, the more backlash they received until they had to stay quiet. Some gossip outlets even dug up the fact that Alex lived in the same neighborhood as us. This revelation only worsened the public's opinion of him. Everyone started calling for a change in the phrase "the neighbor's lover," saying it should now be "the lover from next door." When I saw this, I was slightly surprised. Alex lived in the same neighborhood. That explained a lot. Several times, I had woken up in the middle of the night to find Chloe missing from bed. When I called her, she'd say she couldn't sleep and was taking a walk in the garden. Turns out her walk was leading her straight to Alex's place. Realizing that, I took a moment to check in with myself emotionally. Other than finding it a little amusing, I felt nothing. It seemed I no longer cared what Chloe did. Chloe's assistant called me several times, sent multiple texts. I didn't even bother to read them. I just blocked her. It was laughable. Why didn't she do something earlier? I had given her a chance, but she didn't take it that night. Chloe, who was still abroad, must have finally realized the uproar. Happening back home, the first time in 6 months, she called me. It's pretty funny when you think about it, right? There was less than a week left before our wedding. Everyone in our circle knew we'd been together for 10 years. But in the end, she ran off to Santorini with her first love, leaving me in this humiliating situation. I answered the call, curious to hear how Chloe would explain herself. Instead, she immediately began accusing me. Are you out of your mind? What kind of nonsense were you spouting to the media? I worked so hard to build up Alex's reputation, and now you've ruined everything. Daniel, you'd better release a statement right away saying Alex is a close friend of ours, that I brought him to Santorini to help with the wedding planning. I laughed. Really? Chloe's voice on the other end was full of impatience. What's real or not doesn't matter. Let's go with the statement and handle the PR. Oh, so it wasn't real after all. That story about Alex helping with the wedding, she just needed an excuse to bring him along. I'm afraid I can't do that, I said flatly. Chloe hadn't expected me to refuse. There was silence on the line for about half a minute. Then she exploded. What do you mean you can't? You caused this mess by talking recklessly, so you better clean it up. Do you remember where we're having our wedding? I asked calmly. The line went dead silent. I continued, unbothered. The invitations have already been sent out. Location is clearly printed. You hired a local wedding planning team, and the venue is at a hotel here in the country. You think the media won't figure that out? Santorini, huh? I remembered how, when we were still in love, she told me we had to have our wedding in Santorini. She wanted everyone to witness our love beneath the romantic Aegean sky. But when we finally got around to planning it, she was distant. She said she was too busy. That the company had just signed a high-stakes deal, and she didn't have time for a wedding abroad. A fancy hotel here in the country would do just something to get it over with. After all, we'd been together so long, there was no need to make a big fuss. Yet here she was, now taking another man to the very place we once dreamed of getting married. Chloe, furious and embarrassed, snapped, I don't care about any of that. Just clean up this mess. I don't want any negative press about Alex when we get back. Otherwise, there's no need for us to get married. And with that, she hung up. She seemed confident that by threatening to call off the wedding, she'd get what she wanted. I tossed my phone aside and went back to packing my suitcase. What a shame. Doey, I didn't want to marry you either. Chloe and I have been together for 10 years. Our relationship had always been stable until last year. When things started to change, at the time I didn't know Alex was Chloe's first love. I just found it strange that Chloe, who was always buried in work, suddenly had time to read novels. She told me she was scouting stories looking for hidden gems before they became popular, so she could adapt them into TV shows or films later. So I didn't question it further. Then about 6 months ago, Chloe suddenly spent millions to buy the adaptation rights to a novel under 300,000 words. She even partnered with the website hosting it, aggressively pushing the author into the spotlight as one of their top-tier writers. There were signing events, PR campaigns, and all kinds of promotion. That's when I felt something was off and decided to read the novel myself. After finishing it, I couldn't help but wonder, what about this lackluster, slow-paced coming-of-age story was worth millions? So I quietly had someone investigate the author. That's when I found out, before accepting my confession. Chloe had just broken up with her first love, and that first love was none other than Alex, the author of the novel. I even discovered that it was Chloe who encouraged Alex to start writing in the first place. She promised him no matter what he wrote, she'd promote it, and she'd make him famous. So no matter how bad the novel was, as long as Alex wrote it, as long as it was about their teenage love, Chloe would buy it all. But why? I'm the one who's Chloe's fiancé, her partner for 10 years, yet for a relationship that barely lasted 2. She spent a fortune on the rights and went all out to promote her first love. So what does that make me? Over the past 10 years of my life worth, I've been in the entertainment industry for years. I've known fame and failure, but never once did I ask Chloe for help. And yet, the woman I loved so deeply was exhausting herself to make another man a star. I felt like the biggest joke in the world. So for the first time in our 10 years together, I got truly angry at Chloe. I thought she'd feel guilty. But instead, she sneered. "Daniel, you're such an ungrateful fool," she said. "You think I've never helped you? Sure, you're too proud to ask, but everyone in the industry knows you're my boyfriend. That alone has made people think twice before replacing you. You really think you've lasted this long in this cutthroat business just by luck? It's me, Daniel. Me. My company, United Culture, controls half the resources in this industry. Yo. Should be thankful I'm your fiancé, keeping you somewhat relevant. If I didn't want you to benefit, you'd already be a washed-up actor, stomped on by everyone." At that moment, hearing her condescending tone, seeing that sneer, I realized I had never truly understood Chloe. After our fight, she didn't care about our wedding date. She started a cold war with me and even went so far as to block my access to resources in the industry. Back when I was at my peak, I had signed with Chloe's company, United Culture. If she wanted to suppress me, there wasn't much I could do. My work ground to a halt. So I was effectively blacklisted. But luckily, during those 6 months of silence, my contract expired. Maybe Chloe forgot. Maybe she just didn't care. Either way, she never sent a renewal offer. During those long, suffocating months, I doubted myself, tortured myself. And finally, I came to a realization. Not all relationships bloom and bear fruit. And not all people are meant to walk with you to the end. The end of my contract with United Culture also marked the end of my relationship with Chloe as I was about to leave. Sandra, the person who first brought me into this industry, came to see me off. We had climbed the ranks together. She had become a respected manager in the circle. Could have started her own agency long ago, but out of loyalty to me, she signed with the same company. And after Chloe split up her resources, Sandra suffered the same suppression I did. In a way, she ruined her career because of me. If there was one person I owed the most, it was her. So I transferred all my savings to Sandra, hoping to compensate her in some small way, but she simply patted my shoulder. The path I chose alone. "Up to," she said, "the company offered me to contract renewals. I turned them both down." She smiled. "Maybe this is the universe testing me, Daniel. I've decided to start my own agency. The money you gave me, consider it an investment. I hope that when you come back, you'll be the pillar of my company." Smiled and agreed. As I was about to pass through security, Sandra suddenly called out to me. "Among the things you asked me to handle, there's also your wedding ring." I understood. "Throw it away," I said. "It's not important." The wedding ring had been chosen by Chloe's planning team. It had no meaning, no sentimental value. I had already let go of that 10-year relationship, so anything symbolic of it no longer mattered to me. Sandra nodded. "Safe travels. I'll be waiting for you to come back." As the plane landed in another country, I snapped my old SIM card in half, keeping only Sandra's contact information. Everything from now on would be a fresh start. I enrolled in a well-known drama school in the US to continue my studies. During the 5 years I was signed to Chloe's company, Culture, I went from being a top actor to slowly fading into obscurity. On one hand, Chloe was focused on rapidly expanding her company, constantly signing new talent and using me as a stepping stone. She'd push me into scripts that helped those newcomers gain exposure, rarely caring about the quality of the projects. As long as the drama could be filmed and approved, it didn't matter to her because of that. I ended up starring in a string of poorly received dramas with embarrassingly low ratings. Some haters even spread rumors in gossip forums saying I had gambling debts, that I was only taking on those bad roles for quick money, and when real opportunities came, when acclaimed scripts or major productions reached out wanting to collaborate with me, Chloe would intervene. She'd tell me to give the role to a newcomer. "Dan, you're already famous," she'd say. "This role would just be a cherry on top. But for them it could be life-changing. The company is ours. If they succeed, it benefits you too." When my popularity began to fade, and I wasn't as bankable as before, she turned her back on me. She acted like I owed all my success to her, like without her I would have been nothing. That whatever recognition I had left in the industry was thanks to her alone. During the time I was blacklisted, I saw my name pop up on list after list of worst actors put together by netizens. Stung, but I had no choice but to admit it. Over the years, my passion for acting had been drained by the soulless, half-baked scripts Chloe kept throwing at me. Being with her had not only eroded my career, it had made me forget why I joined this industry in the first place. I didn't want to star in forgettable dramas. I wanted to leave a lasting mark on Chinese cinema. Leaving Chloe meant leaving behind the career I'd spent 10 years building, meant starting from scratch. During this time, I met a junior student Tan, overseas Chinese girl named Jana. She was a rising star in the directing program. Her father, Sam Zhang, was a world-renowned director. His films had won countless domestic and international awards. Sam had retired from filmmaking at the age of 45, turning his focus to photography. But even more than a decade later, his works remained iconic and his name still held tremendous. Naturally, the moment Jana enrolled, all eyes were on her. I met her by chance. After all, Sam's films are a staple in film school's required viewing for anyone serious about cinema. It made perfect sense that several of his classics were used as analysis material in our drama courses. We started talking over a seat. Since I was older and a foreign student, I usually sat in the back corner of the classroom. But she also never sat in the front row. After a few times of finding her golden seat taken by me, she had no choice but to sit next to me. Then she got smart, started showing up earlier than I did. When I found my seat taken, I naturally started arriving even earlier too. After a few rounds of this back and forth, she finally snapped. Frustrated, she let out a curse in Chinese. F***K. What's your deal? This seat isn't yours. Hearing my mother tongue, I perked up and replied, "The seat's not mine, but I got here fair and square." She rolled her eyes and muttered, "Fine, whatever." But the next time, she showed up even earlier. That's how we got to know each other, battling it out over the golden seat. Once we grew more familiar, I asked her something that had always puzzled me. In a class that often discussed her father's films, why did she always avoid the front row? Her entire body stiffened at the question. She went silent. It wasn't until after class, when she was staring at her father's name on the screen, that she quietly said, "My father may always be a mountain I can never climb." Later, I learned the full story. Sam Zhang retired from directing in his prime, passing the baton to his daughter. Kana had grown up under his shadow, absorbing his teachings from a young age. But when she officially entered the industry, she realized just how impossible it would be to surpass his legacy. After all, by 23, Sam had already won multiple international awards for his debut film. He was hailed as a genius director. Jana, at 26, hadn't made her mark yet. The pressure, the comparisons, it all became too much. Eventually, it wore her down to the point of depression. Seeing Jana struggle, I couldn't help but relate. To my own experiences, I came from a prestigious acting academy and debuted in major productions. By my third year as an actor, I was working with a renowned director and had reached the peak of my career. I won my first award, and countless offers for roles and endorsements poured in. I was raking in both fame and fortune, quickly becoming a rising star known for my acting skills. But after dissolving my own studio and signing with Chloe's company, I became like a candle slowly burning away all my passion. Because I had once stood at the top, the fall felt even more painful, even more unfair. What Chloe never knew was that I, too, had been on antidepressants for a long time. During the 6 months when she blacklisted me and gave me the silent treatment, I spiraled. I self-harmed. I even attempted suicide. But somehow, I pulled myself out of that darkness. I made the decision to let go of everything from my past and start fresh, far away from it all. Perhaps Jana found something in my story that resonated with her. She decided to take a year off from school, and I didn't stay idle during that time either. I took on all sorts of short-term jobs, working as a cashier at McDonald's, a bar waiter, washing dishes in restaurants, even doing manual labor at construction sites. Ever since graduating from university, I'd only known the entertainment industry. In truth, I lacked any real connection to the life of ordinary people. But looking back now, that year was the first time I truly began to understand the world. It was the first time I saw just how hard a regular person has to fight just to survive. Slowly, I gained a deeper understanding of acting. When Jana returned to school, she came back with a spark in her eyes. She had an idea for a short film and she asked me to play the lead. I agreed without hesitation. She submitted the film to several short film festivals. The results were remarkable. Jana finally made a name for herself in the film world. The weight she had carried for so long began to lift. A new inspiration poured into her. With that momentum, she began preparing her first feature film. She wrote the script herself, surreal, suspenseful drama. And once again, she invited me to take the lead role in this film. I played a transgender individual living with schizophrenia. It was, without a doubt, the most difficult role I had ever taken on. We shot the film over 3 years, sometimes stopping and starting, both of us carrying the pressure of making it right. But every second, every effort was worth it. When the film was finally released, it received widespread acclaim both from within the industry and beyond. Jana had truly made her mark. At the age of 30, she achieved what her father had: an award-sweeping debut film. The media began calling her a late-blooming genius, and beside her, my name began to reappear, slowly returning to the public eye that year. I turned 35. Jana's film was later invited to a domestic film festival, and as the male lead, I received an invitation as well. After 5 long years away from my homeland, I finally decided to return. Unlike the quiet, unnoticed departure years ago, this time we were welcomed with open arms. When Jana and I landed, the airport was swarmed with fans and medias, so many people that we could barely move. Questions came at us from every direction, until one reporter suddenly asked, "Mr. He, 5 years ago, you left the country, and your wedding was canceled. Now that you're returning with a new film, do you plan to reunite with Ms. Liu from United Culture?" Hearing Chloe's name, I froze. 5 years, aside from Sandra, I had completely cut ties with everyone from my past. I remembered Sandra had mentioned to me, back when I'd first arrived in the US, that Chloe had been trying to find me. But I told her then and there, I didn't want to hear anything about Chloe ever again, so I had no idea how she was doing now. Instinctively, I blurted out, "What? She hasn't married Alex yet?" I thought that, given how publicly she had promoted her first love, she must have been deeply attached to him. But judging from the reporter's tone, she still wasn't married. My genuine confusion must have caught their attention because, in that moment, all the questions turned to me. Double quotes, "Mr. He, are you saying you haven't been in contact with Ms. Liu at all?" "Liu at all?" one reporter asked. "Is it true, as rumors suggest, that your relationship with Ms. Liu has completely fallen apart?" I couldn't help but laugh. I thought I made that clear 5 years ago. But if there's still any doubt, let me reiterate, Chloe and I have no relationship anymore. I genuinely wish her and her first love all the best. Now, let's end the personal questions here. I hope everyone can focus more on our film. Once we finally escaped the reporters and got into the car Sandra had arranged for us, Jana pulled down her mask and smiled. "You once told me you were a popular actor back home. Didn't believe you then, but now I see I underestimated you." I chuckled. It's not exactly a reputation I'm proud of. Being remembered for a scandalous love triangle isn't much of an honor. Honestly, I was a bit worried that all of this might affect the film's promotion here. But Jana, in her usual carefree way, just shrugged. What's the big deal? Might even bring some buzz to the film. It's a niche project anyway. Sure. I made it hoping to win awards, but if some gossip sells a few more tickets, I'll take it. Then she leaned in and whispered, Let me ask you something. Do you really have no feelings left for your ex, fiancé of 10 years? I had once told Jana the whole story between Chloe and me. At the time, she'd asked me if Chloe hadn't wanted to break up with you, what would you have done? That question stayed with me like a quiet echo from the past. Turns out, Chloe didn't end up with Alex after all. I knew what Jana was really asking. She wanted to know if there was still a chance for Chloe and me. I thought about it for a while and finally said, Honestly, I just find it annoying. I thought when I left, Chloe and Alex would get their happy ending. But for some reason, she stayed single all these years. And deep down, I had a feeling now that I was back Chloe might stir up trouble. Sure enough, the instincts were right. Since I had just signed with Sandra's new agency, I went to the company the next day to see her. And right there, in the hallway, ran into Chloe. 5 years had passed. Chloe had gained a bit of weight. She wasn't young anymore. Without the glow of youth, her charm had faded fast. She looked older, closer to 40, and I wouldn't have questioned it. We both froze when our eyes met. Chloe was the first to speak, calling my name excitedly. But just as quickly, something changed in her expression. She turned and hurried away. I was left standing there, confused. When I reached Sandra's office, I could still see tension on her face. I had a hunch it had something to do with Chloe, so I asked. As soon as I mentioned the encounter, Sandra let loose. I've never seen someone so shameless in my life, she snapped. From her words, I was finally able to piece together Chloe's life over the last 5 years. After I left, Chloe searched for me for 2 days. But when she learned from Sandra that I had gone abroad, she lost her temper. She told Sandra to pass on a message. If he keeps up this act, I'll replace him with Alex at the wedding in 2 days. He'll regret it. But I'd already asked Sandra not to tell me anything about Chloe. She knew how serious I was. So she kept that message to herself. Did she go through with it? I asked. Did she actually replace me at the wedding? Sandra let out a bitter laugh. Replace you? Did she even pull that off? In the end, the wedding never happened. When the reporters asked about it, she claimed you two had planned a wedding in Santorini, and that her trip with Alex was just to scout the location. She barely managed to cover it up, but who believed that nonsense? Chloe's company, United Culture, faced massive backlash over the whole ordeal. Her attempt to promote Alex also took a hit, especially after the comments I made publicly, which the media seized on. The scandal gave people something to laugh about. Even the youth novel they had been trying to hype the years, like poetry, suddenly got dragged into the spotlight. It had a small, specific audience before, but now it was swamped by the curious and the gossip-hungry. Aside from Alex's diehard fans, most readers agreed with MIT was just a mediocre, uninspired love story.
Ow.
No one could understand how it had ever been praised so much. It even ended up being voted as the most overrated youth novel on multiple platforms. Like they say, if you want to wear the crown, you have to bear its weight. Chloe had built a massive platform for Alex, but his talent simply couldn't meet the public's expectations. Critics tore the novel apart, and as more people read it, they noticed that many of Alex's sentences were eerily similar to those from a lesser-known web novel. So before Alex could even clear his name from the cheating scandal, a new wave of accusations hit plagiarism. And when it comes to online literature, plagiarism is always a tricky thing to define. But the original author wasn't about to let it slide. Armed with solid evidence, they filed a lawsuit against Alex. The case dragged on for years, without resolution. Part of the reason? The years, like poetry, didn't really have any true literary value to begin with. The fame, the awards, most of it was manufactured. When the original author demanded compensation, Alex flat out refused. In his mind, The work he plagiarized wasn't worth much. If it hadn't been for Chloe, even that copied story wouldn't have gotten any attention. That twisted logic kept him and the original author tangled in legal and emotional battles. With the case repeatedly trending on social media, netizens demanded both Chloe and Alex publicly apologize. But in a move no one could quite understand, Chloe ignored the backlash. Instead, she assembled a high-profile production. Team Man boldly announced her plans to adapt The Years Like Poetry into a film. The internet exploded. Fury, condemnation, outrage. It was chaos online. Maybe Chloe wanted to take the infamous route on purpose. She stubbornly pushed forward, undeterred by the criticism, and managed to finish filming within just 6 months, rushing to release it as quickly as possible, and, as expected, the film slapped together in haste lacked any real sincerity. Even though Chloe cast the most handsome rising male stars and the prettiest new actresses from her company to play out this youthful love story, the audience didn't buy it. They called it trash. They accused her of feeding them garbage. You serious? Not only do I have to watch the ugly children of rich people act, but now I have to sit through her cringe-worthy first love too? Whoever watches this plagiarized garbage is an idiot. Comments like that were everywhere. This wasn't the reaction Chloe had expected. She thought the more the audience criticized it, the more attention it would get. But she was wrong. Terribly wrong, in the end. This so-called high school romance, which had reportedly cost 200 million yuan to produce, made less than 10 million at the box office. She lost everything in the past. Such a failure wouldn't have hit her so hard. But this time, Chloe had signed a performance contract with her investors. And the disaster that was poetic youth meant she couldn't meet the targets laid out in that contract. The shares in United Media were split apart. And as CEO and majority shareholder, Chloe was completely pushed out by the investors. So what does that have to do with her coming to find you? Sandra rolled her eyes. Isn't it because your film became popular? Chloe started going around claiming you were still one of United's artists. It wasn't until she accepted several endorsement deals in your name that she realized your contract had expired a long time ago. She sighed, rubbing her temples. When I found out, I immediately announced that you were signed with my company, Hechong Media. That's when Chloe came to fight me. But she couldn't provide any proof you were still with her company. So even though the argument blew up online, public opinion ended up siding with me. That was when I finally understood the full story. Sandra leaned in slightly, voice low. Anyway, things haven't been easy for her these last few years, so she'll probably come looking for you. Stay alert. Just like Sandra predicted. As I left the company building, I saw her. Chloe hadn't gone. She was still waiting at the entrance. Security had tried several times to get her to leave, but she wouldn't budge. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up. Dan, I need to talk to you. I raised a hand, signaling the guards to stand down. She stood up straighter, adjusting her messy clothes. It's been a while. Can we talk? In a quiet tea house, she personally poured tea and placed the cup gently in front of me. Even though she'd asked to speak, we sat in silence for a long time. Neither of us said a word. I glanced down. At the tea! If you've got something to say, just say it. Chloe looked at me, her expression bitter. She paused. I'm sorry. That was all she said. Just that one sentence. It was such a stark contrast to the arrogant Chloe I'd known 5 years ago, and when she saw that I didn't react, didn't soften, her face slowly turned red. Then quietly, painfully, went pale. Her voice weakened. I didn't get together with Alex. It was all a misunderstanding. I never meant to break up with you. A mocking smile tugged at the corner of my lips. As I smiled, her voice grew fainter. A tear slipped down her cheek, and Chloe quickly wiped it away. Is there really no chance for us anymore? I looked at her, her figure fuller now, her once bright confidence gone. I stayed silent. She seemed to realize how much she'd changed. Her pride cracked, and she covered her face in shame. I can't help it, she choked out. Drinking round after round to entertain clients, staying up late, and the stress, it's impossible to keep my body the same. She broke down. Alex, only used me, used my platform, my connections to boost his fame. And when I gained weight, he started resenting me. But he never stopped to think without me. He's just a spoiled, talentless nobody. So after I left, I said quietly, "You did get together with Alex, but you two didn't last." Chloe froze. And now I added, "You're asking if we can still be together?" I stood up. "Are you really that clueless? The only reason I sat here with you for this half hour is because of the 10 years we spent together. But if this I gestured between us was all you wanted to say, then it was a complete waste of time." Chloe was stunned. "What do you want to hear from me?" "Obviously, I want to talk about the shares I still have in United Media." Her face fell. Seeing her expression, I couldn't help but laugh. "Did you really think I came here to rekindle our old romance? The only thing left between us is business. Even though my artist contract ended, I still hold shares. Back when I was at the peak of my career, you signed me with the promise of 20% of United Media's equity. Even signed a supplementary agreement. But the moment I signed, you acted like it never happened. For years, I never received a single dividend. I didn't argue back then. I didn't want to fight over money. But now, I want what's mine." And judging by her face, she had no intention of paying me what she owed. So I told her, either prepare to compensate me for the unpaid dividends, or I would take her to court. I'd heard from Sandra that United Media hadn't been doing well these past few years, but I didn't expect things to be this bad. Less than 30 minutes after I left the tea house, Sandra called me. Chloe's mother had contacted her and said she wanted to speak with me. Her mother, a woman who had always looked down on me, who once believed I was leeching off her daughter. I was curious to hear what this woman who had hated me for so long had to say now, so I dialed the number Sandra gave me, masking mine with a virtual line. To my surprise, the first thing Chloe's mother said was, "I agree to you and Chloe getting married. You won't have to pay any bride price, and let's not talk about those shares anymore. There'll be family, no need to bring business into it." I was speechless. When I didn't respond, she grew irritated. "What? You still want the shares? Let me tell you something, Daniel. Back then, plenty of men lined up to marry Chloe, but she wasted her youth waiting for you. Should be grateful she's not asking you for compensation. You're successful now, but do you really want to be labeled the man who abandoned her?" Even after all these years, Chloe's mother hadn't changed one bit. I hung up the call immediately. Then I asked Sandra to help me file a lawsuit against Chloe. I sued her for the unpaid dividends over 50 million yuan. It's outlined in our agreement. The moment the case was filed, everything between Chloe and me blew up again. Chloe was furious. She released a manipulated audio recording from our tea room conversation. Twisting the truth and accusing me of abandoning her, she portrayed herself as the heartbroken woman who had waited faithfully for 5 long years. But the internet doesn't forget. Before I even had the chance to respond, sharpied netizens dug up old news photos of her vacationing in Santorini, with Alex flaunting their relationship. Pictures of them in the same luxury hotel suite resurfaced. Chloe's plan had completely backfired. After that, Chloe posted our old contract with United Media, claiming I had breached it by signing with another company. She even threatened to sue me for damages. The amount she demanded just happened to be the same as the unpaid dividends, over 50 million yuan, Sandra responded immediately. She presented a detailed collection of chat logs and recordings, showing that my contract had long expired. She had even tried multiple times to negotiate a renewal with United Media's higher-ups, only to be ignored. This sparked a public backlash. United Media's management found themselves under fire as the topic trended. The truth was, they hadn't renewed my contract because they were waiting to see Chloe's reaction. But now that Chloe had fallen from power, the internal team no longer cared to protect her. An insider finally spoke up. They revealed the real reason my contract had been delayed. It stemmed from a heated argument I had with Chloe over Alex.When. That deeply embarrassed her, so she made a personal decision to teach me a lesson by purposely stalling the contract. Once this truth came out, Chloe's manipulative behavior was exposed and torn apart by angry netizens. Even Alex, who had long since parted ways with Chloe, wasn't spared. After leaving Chloe, Alex rode the wave of popularity she had built for him. Thanks to the platform she created, he made a fortune and gained top-author status. But despite the success, his writing was mediocre at best. Once on his own, his new books flopped one after another. Eventually, he couldn't resist the temptation to plagiarize again. But this time, he targeted the wrong persona, well-respected author, who had solid proof. The lawsuit that followed completely crushed him. The website terminated his contract, demanded a return of royalties. And Alex drowned in debt. Backed into a corner, Alex snapped. He unleashed a bitter rant on social media. Not only did he admit to the rumors about his and Chloe's Santorini fling before her wedding, but he also dragged me into it. Daniel gave up everything for her, but she's just a shameless woman, he spat. The moment she saw me, her first love, she threw herself at me. I didn't even want to get involved, but she insisted she could take me to the top. Come. On we're all menu. Tell me, who says no when something like that is handed to you on a silver platter? I just made the same mistake any man would. Chloe's the real villain. His meltdown only made everything worse. Through it all, I said nothing publicly. But behind the scenes, my legal team had been working steadily. Eventually, the court ruled in my favor. Chloe was ordered to pay over 50 million yuan in dividends and interest. After the ruling, Chloe tried to reach out several times. She wanted to talk, maybe hoping nostalgia or old emotions could smooth things over. But I refused to see her. Who would believe that someone who hadn't contacted me in 5 years still had real feelings? No, what she wanted was control again. She saw my comeback and thought she could pull me back into her orbit. I wasn't going to let that happen. I don't know what Chloe had been doing all these years. But to pay the 50 million, she had to sell her house and some of her shares. Once the money hit my account, I didn't hesitate. I sold my shares in United Media to one of the major shareholders. By the time Chloe found out, it was already done. She had lost her controlling stake not long after. United Media was renamed Fiancée Media and merged into a larger conglomerate. Chloe, who spent more than a decade building her empire, ended up working as just another employee under someone else. Alex didn't fare any better. His public meltdown attracted bored netizens who dug even deeper into his life. They found personal information about his new girlfriend and harassed her relentlessly. Eventually, the woman, his would-be fiancée, broke off the engagement. 5 years ago, Alex ruined my wedding. 5 years later, he lost his own bride. After that, I stopped paying attention to either of them. Jaina stayed in the country for a while, but eventually chose to return to the US to continue her studies. On the day I saw her off at the airport, she turned to me and said, "Next time, can you be my leading man again?" I smiled. Of course. Then she added with a mischievous grin, be the leading man in my life. I froze, but by the time I could react, she had already turned and disappeared through the security gate, never looking back. For a moment, I wondered if I had imagined her words entirely. Of course, it wasn't until I was nearly 40 that I finally gained the approval of Jaina's parents. But that is a story for another time.